Ever feel like you got sucker punched by life? Like everything you thought you knew got flipped upside down? Yeah, we're going there today. Diving deep into the emotional roller coaster that is divorce. And trust me, gonna want to buckle up for this one.
We've got a really fascinating source for this deep dive. Imagine a self-help guide originally written in Hebrew by someone who's actually been through it. Like they came out the other side stronger and were like, hold on, I got to share what I learned.
So it's like having a guide who's right there with you saying, hey, been there, felt that gut punch, you're not alone.
Exactly. And one of the first things this guide stresses is self-care.
Okay, hold up. Self-care in the middle of a divorce, when you're drowning in paperwork and emotions. Not exactly spa day vibes.
Right. You're not running away from reality, but think of it as those little things you do for yourself that make a huge difference. Like the author's all about scheduling me time every single day, even just 30 minutes.
I'm listening.
Whether it's a walk, a long bath, reading a book, it's about recharging and reconnecting with yourself.
Because in all the chaos, sometimes you forget you matter.
And get this, he's big on dressing well. Like invest in a new wardrobe, kind of big.
There's something to that. Look good, feel good.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that feeling good, it plays right into another key takeaway, boosting your self-esteem. Because divorce can really mess with your sense of worth.
Big time. So how do we tackle those nasty thoughts that creep in? The he doesn't respect me or I'm not good enough stuff.
He's all about confronting them head on. One tool he talks about is this reverse the negative exercise.
Reverse the what now?
So let's say you catch yourself thinking, he doesn't respect me. He wants you to flip the script, turn it into, I respect myself, and the people who truly matter, they respect me too.
It's like taking those negative thoughts and turning them on their head.
Exactly. You're choosing to focus on your worth. And get this, the guide doesn't shy away from the blame game either. He dives right into that.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. Lay it on me.
He talks about two types of blame, blaming your ex and blaming yourself. And here's the thing. He says dwelling on either one just keeps you stuck, prevents you from moving on.
I'm with him so far.
But here's where it gets really interesting. He compares this whole blame thing to physics, like actual physics. Newton's third law, to be exact.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Newton's third law. You're really bringing the science into self-help now. Okay, give it to me. How does physics fit into all of this?
I know, right? Totally unexpected. But that's what I love about this guide. So Newton's third law, right? It basically says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Meaning, if you're pushing against that wall of blame, it's going to push right back at you just as hard.
Gotcha. So it's like this vicious cycle, pushing and getting nowhere. So instead of staying stuck in that blame game, he's saying we need to just let go.
You nailed it. Letting go of the blame, whether it's towards your ex or yourself, that's the key to moving on. And it's especially important, he says, if you're trying to build a healthy co-parenting relationship.
Which, let's be real, is a whole other can of worms. But it makes sense, right? Holding on to all that anger and resentment, it just eats away at you. Speaking of things that eat away at you, what about jealousy? That seems like a big one after a divorce. Especially if there was infidelity or if you see your ex moving on quickly.
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He says jealousy is totally normal in these situations.
So then what? How do we wrangle that green-eyed monster?
He actually gives some really concrete advice on this. Basically, he says, start by disengaging from your ex's life as much as possible.
Easier said than done, right?
For sure. But hear him out. He's talking about breaking those unhealthy habits, like constantly checking their social media, comparing your life to theirs, even trying to get info through mutual friends. All those things just keep you stuck in the past.
And honestly, scrolling through their Instagram isn't exactly doing wonders for your own life, right?
Exactly. He's like, listen, focusing on their happiness, their new relationship, whatever it is, it's not going to change your situation. It just amplifies your own pain.
Ouch. Truth hurts. But so true. Okay, so we've covered self-care, self-esteem, blame, jealousy. It's like we've tackled a whole mountain of emotional baggage already.
We're just getting warmed up. Divorce is a marathon, not a sprint.
But I'm already feeling the burn. So what's next on this emotional marathon? What other gems does he have for us?
Well, next up, he tackles the what ifs, all those anxieties and fears that can keep you up at night.
Oh, boy, do I ever. Tell me you have answers for those.
He does. He does. He talks about those common fears that pop up. Financial instability, the thought of being alone, how this is all going to affect your kids, all very real, very valid fears.
It's like your mind becomes a master at conjuring up worst-case scenarios.
Right. So he offers this two-pronged approach. a way to calm those racing thoughts, and a way to proactively face those fears.
I like where this is going. Give me the deets.
Okay, so first up, calming the nervous system. He's a big fan of this breathing exercise he calls the 6 breaths circle.
6 breath circle. Sounds kind of mystical. I'm into it.
Right. It's actually super simple. Breathe in deep for a count of 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5, and repeat that whole cycle 6 times.
Okay, even I can handle that. What about that second part, the proactive fear facing?
So this is where his 3-step method comes in. Awareness, intention, action.
I'm all about action. Tell me more.
It's about taking that fear and turning it into something you can actually address. Like, let's say you're terrified about your finances. The action step might be talking to a financial advisor, creating a budget, or exploring new job opportunities.
It's about taking back that control, which can feel so lost during a divorce.
Exactly. And speaking of taking control, this next takeaway really surprised me. He talks about the importance of forgiveness.
Wait, really? That seems kind of unexpected.
I know. But he's not saying to do it for your ex. It's about forgiving them for your own well-being.
Okay, now it's making sense. It's about letting go of that anger and resentment that's weighing you down, right?
Exactly. He even talks about how he got to a point where he could genuinely thank his ex-wife for the experiences that led him to write this guide.
Whoa. That's next level forgiveness right there. But seriously, how do you even begin to forgive when you're still hurting?
It's a process, that's for sure. It looks different for everyone. He's not saying it's easy, but it starts with recognizing that holding on to anger, it just hurts you more than anyone else.
It's about focusing on the future, not dwelling on the past.
Yes. And that brings us to another big takeaway, gratitude.
Gratitude. In the middle of a divorce, that's a tough sell.
It might seem counterintuitive, but he's saying that even in the midst of all the upheaval, there are still things to be grateful for.
Okay, like what? Help me out here.
It could be anything. Your health, your kids, your friends, a roof over your head, a passion you're pursuing. It's about consciously shifting your focus to what you do have, not what's missing.
So instead of focusing on the should-haves and the what-ifs, you're choosing to appreciate the good stuff.
Exactly. And he takes this whole future focus thinking even further with this really cool exercise he calls the letter from the future.
Okay, the letter from the future, you've got my attention. Tell me more.
So he tells you to imagine it's like a year, 5 years, whatever, down the road. You're writing a letter to yourself from this future you, and in this letter, you describe your ideal life as if it's already happened. Your relationships, your career, everything.
That's kind of brilliant. It's like planting these seeds of possibility in your mind, visualizing the life you want. I love that.
Right. And he wraps up the whole guide with this perfect quote. The show must go on, including yours.
Mic drop moment right there. It's like he's saying, stop feeling sorry for yourself, dust yourself off, and go create a life you love.
Exactly. You've got the power, even in the middle of all that chaos.
And speaking of chaos, he makes a really good point at the end of the guide.
He reminds us that even though the guide is all about you, your journey, divorce doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah, so true. It's not just about you, right? Especially if there are kids involved.
Right. He kind of touches on that, how important it is to navigate those co-parenting relationships with empathy and understanding.
For sure. Maybe that's another deep dive for another day. But for today, what's the big takeaway? What do you really want our listeners to remember from this guide?
Honestly, divorce might feel like the end of the world, but it's also a chance for a fresh start. You can rediscover yourself, heal, and build a life you actually want.
It's like he's saying, congratulations, new chapter. It's going to be tough, but wow, the possibilities.
Right. He's all about reminding you that even when it hurts, there's always hope. You can build something amazing.
Love that. So for anyone out there going through it, remember, you are stronger than you think. You deserve all the good stuff. And like you said, the show must go on.
And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Friends, family, a therapist, whoever. You don't have to go through this alone.
So much good stuff here. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deeper.